Well, hi, everyone. My name is Ben, and I'm joined with...
Punal, nice to meet you all. So today, over the last 12 to 18 months, I've had conversations with CRM leaders from a wide range of industries, different markets, different consumer models and customer models, various levels of marketing maturity as well. Something interesting that usually comes up that gets shared quite a bit, it's that it's not a technology problem that they're overcoming. It's not data problems that they're overcoming, and it's not channel problems that they're trying to overcome, because all of these are always going to be there. It's actually an expectation problem that we're trying to solve for. Expectations placed on marketing have changed dramatically. Marketing used to be measured on activity, campaigns launched, and leads generated. Today, marketing has been thought about and being measured more increasingly on a very different area: business impact. It's about revenue contribution, customer value, retention performance. That shift is quietly reshaping our CRM teams and how they operate. So today, we're going to talk about the shifts reshaping marketing right now. More importantly, the way that the CRM teams can create growth on the back of these as well. So what I'm trying to summarize within this intro is actually a quick statement that I want to share with you. Marketing is not becoming more complex. It's becoming less forgiving. The tools are better than ever. AI is accelerating productivity. More data is available. Channels are being measured in real time as well. The tolerance for inefficiency has actually disappeared. Budgets are being scrutinized. We've got a lot more customer attention, which is being fragmented as well. And performance, whether it be good or bad, has to be visible and measurable almost immediately as well. So this means that marketing teams and the way that they operate have to be in an environment where small inefficiencies compound quite quickly as well. Organizations aren't going to be the ones that succeed by doing more activity. We know we're trying to do more, but everyone has only a range of availability of what they can do. They're going to be the ones that design better systems. And that's exactly the shifts that we're going to be looking at about today. So if you look and browse at any marketing report, any social media, right now the themes are going to be very similar. You're going to have AI and marketing technology that's evolving. You're going to be talking or hearing about business transformation, agility, relevance, experimentation. You've seen it across the last couple of days, and none of this is particularly quite new. Most of the leaders in the room are seeing or dealing with these types of pressures over the last few years. What's different now is that they're converging. The things that are hitting, the forces that are hitting the market at the same time now are economic pressure, technological acceleration, and human attention collapse. So individually, they can be managed. However, collectively, they're reshaping how marketing teams operate. Today, we'll walk through 9 shifts, and we'll show you how these 9 shifts are seeing, or how you could see your CRM teams create growth on the back of that as well. And more importantly, what you're going to be able to do or take away from this as well. Ben, have you got a question?
Yeah, we thought that since this is almost the end of the day, we'd make this a little interactive, so get excited. So we're going to start off. Before we even get into what the trends are, I'd love to see a show of hands. How many of you feel like you and your business are keeping up at the pace of marketing innovation? OK. All right. So we're gonna give you some tips about how to handle that. I said interactive, so I want us to do one more question here. If you could take your phones out, like Punal said, we're gonna go through a variety of trends that we've identified, that research has identified. We'd love to have you answer this as well. What are you seeing as the most important trends? Now, when we put this session together, like Punal said, we wanted to think beyond just CRM marketing, really holistically. What are the things that practitioners, business people should be thinking about? And these are some of the trends that I think come up across the board. Perfect, so you guys are finding it. So we'll give you just a second to fill that out. It's interesting, seeing the use of AI. It's because you always see everyone talks about it, but it's like, who's doing it? Who's finding the success and the value in it? And it's really shifting quickly, I think, between those who want to.
Yeah. And we haven't actually given you the option to make multiple selections. We want to be quite directive in terms of what you think is the most important one right now.
Cool.
It's a good bit of interaction and engagement.
Interesting. Yeah.
Cool. So what do we see, Ben?
Cool. So as Punal mentioned, we're going to go through 9 different major shifts today. Now, that sounds like a lot, but we're going to focus these on kind of what is the technology that's accelerating these elements. Number 2 is what is the business and economic pressure that's making these things happen. And third, as Punal mentioned, is that attention collapse. And so we've broken these into 3 categories. And for each of these, we're going to talk about the trend itself, data about why we identified this as something that we thought all of you should be aware of and acting on, why it matters to your roles, and then finally, an action you can take. We want this to be action-oriented, and we'll conclude the session with a little bit more about that as well. So our first challenge in the technology area is something that I saw a lot of you fill out on the survey, which is AI-ready technology, the tech stack. The tech stack is evolving and changing very quickly. And we're seeing that more and more brands are building certain things in-house. And that can be really good, but it can also lead to missed opportunities. And what we're seeing as, we're seeing the tech stacks grow and change. And so what we really want to recommend to you when you're looking at technology is how does it fit together? Because the technology of today will evolve into the technology of tomorrow. New opportunities and challenges can be solved by new technology as well. So be on the lookout for tools that are composable, that minimize complexity, and are built for growth and evolution over time. We see this to be more modular and connected in different ways. And one way that we see this being really beneficial is with APIs. It's something that we have, of course, here at Optimove. But looking for technology that plays well together, specifically with a very forward-thinking mindset as well.
So the next shift we're going to talk about is data democratization. So marketing data used to live within the marketing teams. Today, the data has more of an enterprise value as well. So we've got customer insights that influence product decisions, pricing strategies, customer support models, commercial planning. At the same time, executives are increasingly thinking about behaviors of these models and customers and how they can influence and use these better. So the challenge is not about just reporting on your standard channel behaviors such as email dashboards or you've got paid media dashboards. We've got customers who don't experience these brands just through the channels. They experience the journeys, where we've seen the journeys that are changing and drastically amended along the way. And the opportunity is for CRM leaders to think a little bit more, less from the channel metric perspective, but more from a customer-centric insight perspective and how to create those journeys. So marketing has been breaking down the data silos. Creating a universal language with the rest of the business is very important because you do want your business internally to start thinking, how am I reporting and what am I looking at customer lifetime value, customer acquisition costs, to become a little bit more cooperative and together with the business across different departments rather than individual silos. And whilst we're moving away from like those ETLs and storing data in certain ways, the exposure of data available in cloud to different teams in different regions makes it much more easily accessible, and actually universally you can start to think how you can report collectively and have one single moment of truth as well.
So one thing that's really interesting, as we've talked about AI a lot, obviously, is the ways that we as consumers and individuals interact with it. And so there's been more and more product research now happens through LLMs and through chat agents, and we're going to continue to see that. And it's where we've seen the emergence of this thing called AEO, which is kind of the next level of SEO. And as CRM marketers, we might quickly think, okay, that's another department. But it's something to be looking at and thinking about because the future customer is going to interact with you in these places. And when we talk about a holistic customer experience, this is the place to be looking at. So as you're crafting messaging and content and CRM messages, think about the way that ties together with what your brand looks like on the AEO or in the chat interface. So this comes back a little bit to what Punal was mentioning around kind of democratizing marketing data, but it's also in democratizing roles within the marketing team itself. So think about how your brand is going to be summarized by AI. Is this the same message that you're building into your email campaigns? Because this is going to be, we think, a big area for innovation and a differentiator. People will continue to find you through this ways. It's just the reality of how people are interacting. We are not not a lot are connecting it directly with CRM right now, so you have an opportunity to be kind of at the cutting edge of that.
So there's an important shift around the era of financial accountability in marketing as well. So according to Gartner, 75% of CMOs increased financial scrutiny compared to 3 years ago. Have a think. Does that resonate with your business and how you've been seeing your CMOs or CMOs like looking and comparing financial numbers to a few years back? Marketing used to focus on growth metrics, acquisition volumes, campaign reach, and engagement rates, as I've mentioned previously. But the power is probably shifting a little bit more towards those margin owners and the finance teams, the product teams, the commercial executives within the business as well. And at the same time, the cost of capital has started to increase globally as well. So when the capital was cheaper, it was easier and faster to be able to do experimentation, or growth investment was easier to justify. Organizations are starting to want clearer answers on where that justification of investment can happen as well. So what incremental value does marketing actually create? Why do CRM teams become more important during this period of time? We're thinking back to the basics of lifecycle marketing. It's going to be quite key to understand the traction of your customer going through these journeys, looking at their retention, their customer lifetime value, starting to see a little bit more about those cross-sell opportunities that you could also create. Where do those financial opportunities come into play? Where does margin lead into those products, the behaviors, and the types of offers that you may have, where you can start to scrutinize a little bit more about promotions, bonuses, and offerings to clients, and think a little bit more about where you can drive the value more tangibly as well. So the action for CRM leaders is going to be this. Move away from reporting your typical opens and clicks. We know that that does relate to how a campaign may be engaged, but the incrementality and the customer creation of the value is going to be much more important now as well. We're seeing incrementality is becoming that new credibility.
So as technology evolves, so too do our teams. And I think that in hiring and building teams, we need to be thinking about different skill sets than maybe we did in the past, right? I think that a few years ago, if someone applied for a job and they're using AI, you might be like, oh, I don't know, can I trust you? Now the question is almost, how are you using AI? Like, what are the roles that this plays in your life? And so you need to build a team with mixed skills that focus on kind of critical thinking. Automation and AI are great as long as you have the team that supports that and builds that as well. So obviously we've talked a lot about positionless and having a team that does a variety of things today, but I think that there are certain skill sets that are harder to teach that you have to look for in candidates as well. So looking for that skill mix of kind of critical thinking with the drive to use tools as a support. This efficiency, this acceleration is going to be one of the big things that differentiates you from your competitors. The speed in which you can release campaigns, the speed in which you can personalize is going to continue to be a differentiator. So we think that, and you've heard a bit of this, quite a bit of this in the past couple of days, but removing the bottleneck of marketing is also opening up the opportunity to be more accelerated in your overall marketing.
And the next shift is actually driven by the reality that customers are becoming less trackable. So we've seen the privacy regulations are expanding, cookies are disappearing, and tracking signals are weakening now as well. And something interesting that's happening at the same time is that customers are still willing to share that information. Actually, it's if they receive in return the value. What we're seeing from research is showing that people are far more willing to disclose that information when it's voluntary or beneficial. So many data sources are showing that opt-out rates after the iOS changes have been dropping as well. Preference sensors are being adopted as well. But actually, engagement rates of interactive, dynamic content is actually going to obviously increase and be much more relevant than the static forms that is available as well. What does this mean for data collection now? Rather than just the tracking challenge, it's about using this to create experiences and being a design that you can build on the back of as well. So brands are using different elements, such as preference centers, interactive quizzes, the gamification elements as well. And gamification isn't just about making things playful. You're trying to absorb understanding of behavior, data that you can use for the future as well. And it's about using this to reduce the friction of participation. And if you want better data, you've got to use this gamification to design better experiences so customers are able to share this more as well. So design data capture as a journey. not just a form that needs to be filled out. Think about treating zero-party data as a margin lever, and connect gamification not just to acquisition, but to retention opportunities as well. And a clear example of this is we've got the World Cup coming up. We know that during the period of when the World Cup ends and when the league starts, there's going to be a few weeks for businesses to think about how can they start to engage those customers. The same thing happens during events such as Black Friday and then just before Christmas. What's going to happen during that period of time? And you've got opportunities to use gamification to ensure that your customers have a touch point or a credibility of where you as a brand know them well enough to be able to engage them as well. The next shift is around structured experimentation. So we believe more organizations are running tests, but true experimentation culture needs to be embedded within the organization more as well. And there's a significant difference between testing and experimenting. So companies that implement experimentation programs, it's a bit of a bit word for me, have grown 30% faster than those that don't. Those organizations report ROI multiples of 40x or higher when you've got experimentation initiatives happening. So I'll give you a quick example. A retail company believed that they could actually drive repeat purchase behavior through discount imperatives. So that's the typical saying, if I get someone to buy something, it's based on the discount I'm giving them as well. They ran a controlled experiment, and during that period of time, they found out that it wasn't the discount that was actually driving the behavior. It was the reminder email, or the reminder email to purchase something if it was left in your basket, if it was something that was engaging back to the brand or the product that you were looking for previously. And then they started to remove that discount away from some of those tests or experiments that they started to do. And they saw that the margin started to increase because less discounting was required. The reminder email was well enough to be able to be sufficient there. That may not be relevant all the time because we know that discounts in a day and age where pricing is more relevant for customers is going to be important, but start to think about the way you're framing experimenting it to be much more powerful as well. So it reveals the truth about customer behavior that your intuition may miss as well. So the action is quite simple. So think about the way that you can do more testing, build an experimentation roadmap, think about questions that you want to have answered across the year. Think about the retention aspects, how you're going to experiment on engagement. Winning companies in CRM are not going to be guessing. They're going to be using just the predictions of what happened previously because customer behavior keeps shifting. They're going to be systematically learning and using that information to think about the next journey, behavior, and technique and tool, the way that they can then engage their customers as well.
And speaking of that, is not just the understanding and the testing, but it's the action that needs to come out of it. We see that attention, as we can all imagine, is shorter than ever. Content we consume on our daily lives is more modularized, more engaging. So when you think about how you build content, whether it's a mobile message, an email, a journey, an offer, a game, you need to think about having about 8 seconds to engage somebody at most. You need to interact very quickly to keep them there and keep them engaged. And we've seen, this is a fun stat, maybe it's not fun, but consumer reading speed has dropped by 33% in the past 3 years. So it gives you an idea of what we're thinking about. So we need to act faster. So what do you do about this? Well, think about the moments that engage. Think about the message, the content, the personalization. You've got less time. Is it the colors that somebody engages with? Is it a personalized subject line that we know one person will interact with better than another? Another important piece of this is something that Punal was talking about a few minutes ago, and that's leveraging zero-party data. Zero-party data is the information that somebody gives you fully explicitly, like my favorite sport is X, my favorite kind of clothing is Y. These types of information are very, very important because they can be used to drive the types of personalization that will keep and draw that attachment and engagement out. The other reason capturing zero-party data quickly is so important is because one of the other trends that Punal mentioned, which is the questionable cookies of the future, is once somebody leaves your site, if they haven't signed up or signed in, you might lose them. You don't have that same retention policy or that ability you had before with third-party cookies. So capturing zero-party data really quickly can be a really great way. So maybe you can't get them to make the purchase right away, but can you get their name and email address and interest? And then can you kind of nurture them and move forward in that way?
So if your acquisitions cost doubled tomorrow, would your growth model still work? Have a think about that. Like, we know that costs are increasing, but does that mean that your acquisition model is going to be working for tomorrow? The next shift, it comes from the simple economic reality that customer acquisition is getting more expensive. So studies are showing that actually the cost of acquiring a customer can be over 5 times more than retaining a customer. I think that's quite static, and everyone seems to be knowing that fact or around those kind of stats. But studies are also showing that the risen cost of acquisition is moving across digital channels, and it's increasing significantly as well. Whether it be across Meta, Google, TikTok, we know that those costs have been increasing over time, and there's a compounding effect as well. Subscription churn across B2C categories has risen as well. And customers are reporting comparing more prices previously to the pandemic, basically. So loyalty program membership is increasing, but the only thing within that is that the active engagement of those programs is actually flattening. We're seeing there's a lot more customer choices that are available. Actually, customers can switch between brands quite quickly these days. There's a lot more choices that are there. We're seeing a paradox between that loyalty behavior as well. So fewer customers are actually saying that they feel emotionally loyal to brands. When customers do join those loyalty programs, it's becoming a bit more systematic, and it's becoming a bit more strategic as well in terms of how and why they're joining them. So think about whether or not your brand or business has that loyalty program. What are you doing with that data, and are you starting to think more beyond just loyalty as capturing the next badge, the next activity, and thinking about the single program as shifting towards that strategic thinking as well? The loyalty as a system, it connects many different things: rewards, recognition, experiences across different life cycles. When you design this well, you can think about the value that you can do to drive customer lifetime value. I think this is an important area because loyalty has started to become an area which is more important, and as you can see that we've started to invest in that as well. But we know that there are more questions coming in terms of how to approach loyalty in the best way, use that as a systematic approach and a strategic lever as well.
So we've talked about 9 different things, and if you add that on top of all the other sessions you've been through in the past 2 days, it becomes a lot of information. So Punal and I were talking about, of these trends that are happening, what are, I always like to leave a session with what's my first action item Monday? What can I take back from Connect or from a session here? So we looked at effort and impact of these trends in the immediate future here. So you can see here that some quick wins can be around skill sets within your existing teams or growing teams. Looking at financial accountability is something that is going to have a little bit more effort, but a good impact. We then see in the intermediate area, thinking about designing for experiences like Punal was talking about. How do you change the way you build an overall campaign or a game to drive impact with lower effort? And then the high bar, these areas of things that may not happen overnight, but are things that we need to be thinking about. Sharing marketing data across the organization will become an imperative. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to be important so that reporting becomes unified. Loyalty is obviously, we've talked about, integrated there. And then the tech stack. We know that tech stacks evolve and change. Look at what you have. Look for the technology points that you can combine as well. So these are a little bit of the ways that we think about these different trends all fitting together.
So I started off by saying a big statement, which was marketing is not becoming more complex, it's becoming less forgiving. One of the things that I want you to be thinking about on the back of leaving today is that the future of marketing won't begin to companies that have those big budgets. It'll belong to companies that actually are thinking about the way that they're designing the fastest learning systems or quick and adapt to staying in the shoes of their customers and understanding the behaviors to use that and strategize along that. Build systems that understand your customers better. Identify processes or experimentations that you can drive faster engagement and have more strategic thinking around that as well. And focus on moving the needle really fast, but very short steps along the way as well. I mean, if you need to make quick changes, those quick changes are going to be the difference between someone new coming into the market and trying to test and take around those market share that you've gradually built up as well. We've discussed 9 shifts today. We've discussed a number of topics that you may be familiar with. When Ben and I were talking about this over the course of the last couple of months, some of this is not going to be new to you, as I mentioned earlier on. You're going to be seeing this in your daily lives. You're going to be understanding and knowing that. One of the things that we want you to be able to be aware of is that we've got businesses that we work with, experiences amongst the team, and we want to know that we are partners with you to be able to help showcase and think about how you can strategize for the future as these shifts continue and drive faster momentum. We'll be able to be here in support. You've got dedicated resources across the team, and hopefully our product is also able to showcase the value it's going to be creating for the future as well. Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to speaking to you all soon.
That's that.